This episode of Living the Dram is brought to you by Rupert's Pet Cremation and Transport Services. Rupert's Pet Cremation and Transport offer individual pet cremations on the Central Coast. The difference between an individual pet cremation and group pet cremations is sometimes they just chuck a whole bunch of animals in the kiln, and if that's the proper term for it, I'm not sure. You have any idea what?
Kiln sounds good.
Sounds good.
Furnace, maybe?
Furnace. Sometimes they just chuck a whole bunch of pets in the furnace, and then you just end up with random ashes, and you don't even know if that's your pet or not. They just sweep it all up, divvy it all up. These guys offer individual pet cremations. You do get your pet back at the end of the procedure.
That's important.
They aim to ease the grief associated with losing a beloved pet by providing a compassionate and respectful service. I think it was Jerry Seinfeld who once said that owning a pet is basically an investment in tragedy. And my boy turns 13 years tomorrow. It's something forever in the back of my mind that, when I lose him, I'm going to be pretty sad. But
thankfully, though, you'll have Rupert's to use,
Exactly.
and you'll know that you've got your pet on the shelf.
Yeah, I'll be going straight to Michelle and the team at Rupert's Pet Cremation and Transport Services. They're fully trained. They treat your pet like it's their own. They're amazing team. For collection to the return of your pet's ashes, they do that within 4 business days. They have a beautiful range of urns to choose from. You can personalise the plaque with your own inscription. And furthermore, each cremation package comes with a free memorial box with a range of keepsakes. You can also customise your package by adding a framed paw print mould or garden memorial stone. These paw print moulds, I've seen them. They're something else. They touch on your heart. A beautiful little paw print that you can frame. So there's more information at www.rpct.com.au, and you can mention that you heard about Rupert's Pet Cremation and Transport on Living the Dram podcast, and they'll give you a free paw print mould with your cremation package.
And we should be able to put links to that in the show notes.
We certainly will. Enough formalities out of the way. Welcome to another episode of Living the Dram. I'm Rickus.
I'm Hursty.
And we have very special guest, backcountry snowboarder and fellow whiskey enthusiast, Camo, Wahzel, McNeill.
G'day guys, how are you?
Good
Welcome,
man. How you
Cam.
been?
Very well, thanks for having me.
So this version, or this episode of the podcast is slightly experimental. We obviously haven't had a guest before, so it'll be a little bit different to what you've been used to listening to at this point. It'll be more of a chat while we're having a dram. So I hope you enjoy it.
I think the theme that we've chosen for this too is it's quite exciting. We've got
It's a whiskey off.
It sure is. It's a head-to-head. We've put 2 whiskies in the octagon, last man standing.
And it is going to get brutal. It's going to get vicious. There will be blood. There will be broken bones. Someone may die, but it'll be okay.
Same whiskey, same name, only one will win.
Where are we headed today, Rick?
What have we got? We've got the GlenDronach Revival versus
The GlenDronach Revival.
the OG versus the R squared. The Revival versus the original Gangster.
I have to ask, where's R squared come from?
Because it's the Revival.
It's the revival of the revival.
Right. R by R squared.
I feel slightly silly now.
That's okay.
Not
You'll
at
get
all.
used to it.
I'm somewhat cryptic at times. Most of the time, actually.
So the GlenDronach Distillery. I hear that's one of the oldest distilleries in Scotland.
It was. I believe they were the second distillery ever to get a is it an excise license?
I believe it is an excise license.
Yeah, they say they're one of the first. Well, they were legitimately the second ever. I'm not sure who the first was.
See, if you were the first, that'd be your marketing campaign for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's
They're
it
probably
sucks
not
to say
around.
I was the second, But yeah,
Comes right after first.
yeah. One of the first gets you through though.
Might have to turn down on peaking a little bit. I'm getting too excited. All right, so may as well cut a wee bit of history
Please.
before we get to it. So yeah, their legacy dates all the way back to 1771 when the Glen House was built, which is... we'll get to that. The house was originally called Boyne's Mill, and that's on the site that the distillery now stands. It was in 1826 that a fellow by the name of James Allardyce, and he led a consortium of local farmers, bought the property, renamed the distillery, or renamed the site, the GlenDronach, after the source of its water, which is the Dronic Burn.
The laird that wasn't a laird.
How so?
I read that he was called a laird,
Mm-hmm.
but he didn't actually officially have that title. He owned the land, and he had access to the resources that he needed to build the distillery, but they called him a laird without the official title of laird.
What gives you the title? I thought it was just owning a large estate.
That's what I thought as well, but apparently that title has to be bestowed upon you by someone else, which I would assume would be Parliament Committee or a nobleman of some sort.
It's a fair assumption.
Yeah, but in the end, he was better known as Cobby, better than anything else. That's what everyone called him on the at the distillery.
Cobby.
He was Cobby.
Cobby. All right. I wonder if that's like Cobber.
I think it was the land of. I'm not going to pronounce this correctly, but he was the laird of
Kubernistan.
Kobereshnikov.
So that was in 1826 when they first set up shop. I wonder if it had a similar thing to do with how we were discussing in the Ben Riek episode, or might have even been the Lefroy episode, where you had to provide a certain amount of grain to feed your livestock.
Ah, yes.
And you could make whiskey with that grain. Like, hang on a second, whiskey's far more profitable.
Yeah, people like whiskey a lot more than they like grain.
Yeah. Whiskey and beef together at last.
The way it should be.
So in 1830, the distillery was bought over by Walter Scott from Teeninnick. I don't know if I've pronounced that right. Like I said, it's probably pronounced David if it's Gaelic. In the 60s, by the 60s, GlenDronach was one of the largest duty-paying distilleries in the Scottish Highlands. Over 50 people lived on the site at the time, including like all the workers and their families, absolutely everybody. Like the distillery manager, the blender, the excise man, and the brewer. And most of the old houses still remain on the site, including Glen House, which was the original house that was built back in 1771, that is. I believe you can, if you want to visit the distillery, it provides accommodations. You can actually stay there.
You can. I actually went to a GlenDronach tasting this week.
Oh, beautiful.
And
Good
the lovely Brazilian lady that was running it has stayed there for her work.
Unreal.
And it's apparently room number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And she refused to actually sleep in it.
Oh, is this...
Yes.
It's haunted by the Spanish lady.
Yes.
Was it actually haunted? Did she have a reason, or did she just not want to sleep in it because she was scared it might be haunted?
Well, I believe Rick was getting to that. I've kind of jumped the gun there, but...
That's all right. Well, apparently, yeah, that lady, I don't know who she is. I wish we knew her name. But she travelled over in a sherry cask.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah, they opened up a cask to use and found a body in there, and apparently the lady haunts the Glen House to this day.
Wouldn't that suck? Like, I mean, for her to haunt that place, it means just she died on arrival, right? Because if she died in transit, she'd haunt the fucking ship, right? But I'm sure this is how it works. Trust me, I'm an expert. So
Someone put her in there.
got all through that journey and died in the last leg of it. Poor thing.
That's rather underwhelming.
Yeah.
You reckon they...
You put all that effort in,
freedom,
yeah.
Willie.
You can almost hear the shore approaching and sudden heart attack, suffocation.
No.
Here's a question, though. Did they ditch the cask?
I wouldn't have. I'm a morbid motherfucker I would have absolutely
a bottle from that cask.
that would have been my fucking super
I'd-
deluxe single cask. That would have been a 38-year-old or a 42-year-old, and
They should do carbon dating on her, age it to her age that she was, name it after her. I would lay down a K for sure.
Yeah, man, that's fucking meta morbid. I'm well into it. I'm well into it.
Black Label. So then that was the 1860s. In 1920, Captain, we'll use inverted commas there, because I spent heaps of time trying to research what he was a captain of. He was a captain of Sweet FA.
That's what I was about to ask, what he's a captain of.
No, nothing.
You've
It's
answered it.
because his daddy was referred to as Major. I think it was some incestuous family kind of joke. They were floating each other's boat. But anyway, it was Captain Charles Grant. He bought the distillery, and Charles is one of the sons of William, the founder of the Glenfiddich distillery.
Nice.
So he's part of a pretty staunch pedigree. 40 years later, in 1960, the distillery was bought over by William and Teacher and Sons. Teacher expanded the number of stills at GlenDronach from 2 to 4. And then in 68, GlenDronach was released as a single malt brand for the first time.
So does that imply that up until 68, so for 100 and something odd years, they simply produced their malts for blends?
Yeah, that was the fashion at the time.
Yeah, well,
I
blended.
think Glenfiddich was actually the pioneer of single malt.
Yeah, right.
And so I'm guessing, Charles decided to follow in Daddy Williams' footsteps.
Yeah, I've never drunk a lot of blended whiskey. I've just never seen the point of it. If you're not having it with Coke, I wonder why it would have been so popular back in the day.
Maybe that's it. Like maybe Scotch should have just suited a certain flavour profile, so everything was blended to try and enhance the good parts of that profile. That's
So instead
what
of
everybody
celebrating
wanted.
the spirit for itself, they're trying to make the spirit taste
The
a certain
regionality,
way.
yeah.
Maybe trying to get this 1 point, same sort of taste or bracket of tastes each bottle they're producing.
Yeah.
How fucking
Well,
boring.
that's exactly what Johnny and Shivers do.
Well, yeah, true.
Yeah.
And that's why we don't drink it.
Yeah.
Drink water.
Although occasionally I'll revisit that bottle of Johnny Blue I've got, and it is fucking amazing. I often forget. We toast it, like, we just rip into it like year upon year, and then I'll have a dram and like, actually that is really fucking nice and smooth.
You're right. We do just tend to fucking absolutely rip on blends for the simple fact that they're blends. But realistically, a sensational blend should still be a sensational whiskey, and it's really only our wankery that sets it apart from an outstanding single malt.
Yeah, there's time and a place for blends, and I don't have much of either usually.
I like it.
But then 96, they mothballed the joint.
No. After how many years of history?
The best part of 140. No, then some. Actually, if you want to take it all the way back to Glen House, it's 200.
Shit's going to be pretty dire just to go, we're mothballing this. We're walking away.
Yeah.
It just goes to show that there's a lot of people, well, it doesn't go to show, it goes to allow me to speculate that there'd be a lot of people that just fucking aren't good at what they choose to do for a job. People go,
I've met tons of them.
Yeah, fuck I'll go invest in a fucking distillery and make whiskey. I'm shit at it. So they stop.
Yeah. Well, I've got to think, like, fundamentally, why would you mothball a place? Well, it doesn't have enough product to put out, or it has an inferior product. Okay, what's going to make this better? Well, whiskey. Age the product.
Yeah.
So
I don't understand mothballing distilleries, but then again, I've never run a distillery, so I'm not aware of all the ins and outs that go in and running one.
Yeah, and you've never bought one that's so. Yeah, it's hard to, when distilleries go from hand to hand. It's hard to say what sort of situation that they're in. Maybe they had to use that time to renovate.
Yeah.
I did read that they renovated during that time, and I was just thinking, 200 years old, there's going to be some serious building problems that have probably been patched and repatched and
lots of band-aids.
Yeah, it's true. You can only have so many band-aids before the limb falls off.
Yeah.
Was it locked door syndrome that Monty Burns has? All the diseases fighting each other, but they're holding each other because they can't get out the door. But in 2002, it reopened again. Woohoo! It was back in full swing. In 2005, Allied Distillers, that was the owner, that mothballed the joint, they were taken over by Pernod Ricard, and the distillery was passed to the Chivas brothers.
They know how to brew. They know how to distill.
I'm going to get you on a technicality and say no, they don't at all.
They know how to blend.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah, it's fair.
Yeah. 2005, they convert to steam heating. Was one of the last places to heat the stills via coal fire.
Coal.
Mm.
Old school.
I often wonder if, like, so was the steam furnace coal powered?
So they're still doing it with coal.
Yeah, coal and steam.
Yeah, we've
It's just-
introduced the steam
yeah.
to the process. Before we were just coal.
Yeah, instead of putting the coal nigger out a job, they put 2 niggers. Now they got a water boy as well as a fireman.
Superb.
Yeah,
Superb.
I'm sure it was more efficient than that. But. And then 2008, which is a nice tie-in to last episode, GlenDronach was taken over by the Ben-Riach Distillery Company. So that would have been when Dr. Barry got on board.
The illustrious Dr. Barry.
Keeper of the Quake.
Mm.
2015, Ben-Riach Distillery Company was named Global Whiskey Distiller of the Year at the 2015 Icon of Whiskey Awards. And in 2016, Brown-Forman took over. So their whiskey portfolio includes the GlenDronach, Ben-Riach, and Glenglassaugh, or Glenglassaugh. Haven't got to the bottom of that yet.
Because you can't spell slaughter without laughter.
Sure cannot. And that's pretty much the history of the distillery in a nutshell.
Nice.
Look at it in this nutshell. How did it get in this nutshell? Because I put it there.
So it's a fairly, the distillery itself considers itself a connoisseurs of the sherry finish. So that's certainly
that seems to be their bag.
there's a traditional Highland style with the wood finish. They tend to do a nice range of wood finishes. They do a peated expression as well, but none of those are what we're going to try today, because we are facing the revival off with the revival.
We sure are.
And it's going to be interesting to see, because the main difference, apart from when they were distilled, is the cask finishing on these guys, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, what have we got? The R squared. Hang on, which one am I looking at? I know that the revival, the newest version, or I'm going to refer to it as R squared from here on in, is matured in the finest Pedro Jimenez and Oloroso casks, whereas the
OG is just Oloroso, if I remember correctly.
that is Spanish Oloroso as well.
Is there another type of Oloroso?
Probably not, but the word Spanish isn't mentioned on this box.
Is it capitalized?
No, it's not.
Should
Hang on, it is over there, yeah.
It should be, because
Well,
Spanish
it's
is a proper noun.
It's proper now.
Yeah.
Proper as fuck.
It is proper.
The other difference I think that was brought up at that tasting I mentioned is one was the master distiller was Billy Walker, who was like a 70-year-old man, against Dr. Rachel Barry, who's, I don't know her age, but I think she's closer to late 30s, 40. So
yeah, I'd say 40s.
and women typically do taste things differently.
So realistically, this isn't just revival versus revival.
Battle of the sexes.
This is Billy versus Rachel.
This is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This almost sounds like an episode of Friends.
that's fantastic. Yeah. So I can now distinguish between the two boxes, because one has Rachel Barry's signature on it, the other has Billy Walker.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Fucking sweet.
Good observation.
All right. Well, as much as I enjoy talking about the history of distilleries, I'm fucking thirsty. And I very, very much desire to have some whiskey in my mouth. So
I'm going to start nosing.
We're starting with the OG.
Sure.
yeah, I think
Go
it's
for
only
your
fair.
left.
We should start with Billy, and we'll move on to Rachel.
Julia led the rebellion.
Now, while the lads are nosing, I'll bring up, or not even bring, but so Cam, the reason that Cam's joined us today is that he's a fellow whiskey enthusiast, but he also does some interesting things outside of whiskey. And we're going to chat to Cam a little bit today about some of the things he does, in particular some of his cross-country skiing in places far and away and exotic.
This is why I'm here also, because it's not cross-country skiing.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, fun times.
Do you not cross countries?
I do cross-country,
Then it is cross-country skiing.
but I don't ski.
Oh, fuck, that's right, you snowboard. My bad.
All good. I guess technically it's a split board. There is a moment when I am in ski mode, so...
That would have worked a lot better
You're right.
had I not missaid snowboard.
How does the split board differ from a regular board?
Okay, so it's a snowboard, but it splits straight down the middle. The binding's easily removed. Split the board in two, then the
So
binding.
there's a bunch of clips and shit that hold it together as
Yeah,
a snowboard,
just
and
there's
then
4 clips or something that run tip to tail down the centre
okay.
to hold it together, and then the bindings, once they slide into place, lock it all in.
Okay.
So to transition to ski mode, you clip the bindings off, slide them out of place, undo the clips, and then you've got 2 skis. And you twist the bindings 90 degrees and they connect by some little toe clips. And you put climbing skins on the bottom, which in the old days used to be like seal skin or something.
I've read that somewhere. It was, I think I saw a documentary on maybe Inuit making skis, and yeah, they actually used animal skins. Isn't it because the hair runs one way? It
Yeah.
stops you from going.
That's it.
sliding
So
backwards,
the hair will
Clever.
slide one way, and trust me, it doesn't work the wrong way because I put my skins on the wrong way around when I was learning, and you don't go very far.
It's the same principle as why snakes always swallow an animal head first.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The hair stops them from.
Ah, didn't even think of that.
It's because you don't regularly swallow furry mammals. Oh,
That was your last
understandable.
guinea pig.
Yeah.
Or koi, as they pronounce it.
Well, this whiskey is fucking big on the
Sherry
nose.
bomb.
It's real big on the nose. There's a lot of that sugar from the sherry, but it's not overly dominant. We've had issues sometimes when we've tried some of these wood finishes where the finish itself just way overpowers the malt.
Well,
You don't
the
really pick
banter
up
was
anything
case in
else.
point for all
Very
of
much so. But this, it smells lovely balanced.
Yeah, very, very
Lovely.
well.
I don't think I can.
Good
I don't think
words.
I can get away with that. It smells quite well balanced on the nose. There seems to be there's vanilla there. There's the toffee type sugars from the sherry.
Yeah, you get deep.
Is it spice, like cinnamon almost?
Yeah, there's definitely some dark fruits there as well. Is there a touch of chocolate in there, or am I imagining that?
You're getting a lot out of this.
Yeah, I'm imagining back in the day, past life, when I spent some time working in kitchens. A fruit compote was one of the things that went up on the breakfast. Had like dates and plums and pears and big chunks
Yeah,
of
nice.
like cinnamon, whatever they're called, the big.
Bark.
Yeah, the bark. But there's a word for the actual cinnamon scroll.
Oh,
No, that's
Yeah, I think they call it a scroll or a swirl.
yeah.
It does sound more
But it had
appetising.
that, cloves, juice, and that's kind of what I'm getting there.
Was that decorative, or you meant to pick at it?
Oh, that was on like breakfast buffets and stuff. So you just put a bowl of it out there, and people come up and pick out what they want.
But that's really nice on the nose.
Yeah, I'm getting the chocolate now,
Mm.
just slightly.
And then, the malt comes through as
Nice.
well. So you can the spirit isn't hidden by the sherry; it's complemented by it.
Yeah, this is very, very well balanced.
That was fantastic. We all just tasted. Pardon me. We all just tasted it at the same time there, and had this wonderfully effervescent dead air. But
So there'll be a harmonious
Great for podcasts.
That's right.
But
It's
that
through the
first
magic of
sip.
editing.
There's a lot of fruit
Mm.
on that
Yeah.
that first sip.
Yeah, I get all the, like you were saying, what did you call it? Compote?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get the sultanas, raisins, kind of, the dried.
But delightfully
fruits.
well aged.
Mm.
Like there's no sharpness to it at all. There's
Well, that's...
none of that sting that you get sometimes from a no age statement, or even something that's been aged for the same amount of time, but for some reason the wood finish is giving it that sting again.
That's the thing that I'd like to bring to the attention, actually, even though that it says that it's a 15-year-old due to the mothballing in
96.
96. And what was the date stamp? You said this was a 2005 when we had a squiz earlier.
No, sorry,
to
that was a 2015.
This is a 2015 bottling, so that could well mean that the spirit's actually it's closer to 19 years old.
Yeah, that's right.
So that
very
might
good point.
Have a testament to its ridiculously smooth
Because
nature.
that even the first mouthful is just incredibly smooth there.
Yeah. I'm not getting any burn at all.
No,
from any of this.
there's none. The glow starts at the tip of the tongue, and it carries you all the way down until it finds its space in the bottom of the stomach, and then it continues to expand. It's first mouthful, delightful.
A couple of sips in, and almost on the finish getting, I don't know, almost not peat, but almost a smoky hint. Might just be me.
I look a second sip, smoother again. That vanilla tends to come through the fore. There's obviously a lot of treacle sweetness.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting, the treacle and pudding.
Which you tend to get from a sherry
Yeah.
finish, but there seems to be a little bit of I want to say orange infused chocolate, but it's very subtle. The fruits are the overriding and the vanilla.
Yeah. More candied orange. I don't get any of the citrus kind of end.
Yeah, there's no citrus to it.
No, it's quite...
That's why I was kind of...
It's more the sweetness. There's... Yeah.
And it seems like I taste a little bit of chocolate there as well. And I think the two are blending together. I think that's where that came from.
Okay.
But that is delightfully fucking smooth. That really is. It's big on the nose. It's big on the palate. The finish is long and strong. There's a little bit of bitters on the finish.
Yep.
And the robe on the fucker. Like it's a
again.
delightfully oily dram, and I wasn't expecting oily.
No. Oh, that's a good point.
So I did want to ask, Camo, what was your first experience with whiskey, be it good or bad? Preferably bad.
Preferably bad.
When was the first time? Did you ever
Surely
try and
most
chug
people's
half a bottle of
experience with whiskey.
Jim Beam when you're a teenager?
Oh no, the bad experience was what was that? It was a Kincumber party. It was Southern Comfort was the bad experience. Can't be in the same room as that still.
Yeah.
Whiskey, I wasn't really exposed to it early. My old man didn't touch it. Apparently he can't drink whiskey, just like I can't drink rum. So could never even pinch any out of the cabinet. I actually can't really remember exactly when. I do remember one of my old bosses offering me some Johnny Blue, and at the time I just thought, you rich, pompous wanker, that tastes like shit. Haven't revisited Johnny Blue since then.
Oh, well, we can knock one after this. Yeah. I haven't visited it for a while.
But yeah, I haven't it's taken me a while to get into it, and I've fallen with a vengeance. This is a rabbit hole I don't see myself getting out of.
Actually, I do remember one night here, decided to give you, I thought it would be a good entry point, a Glenfiddich 12. Which is a fucking fantastic entry point by anyone's standards, I think. And I poured it up. I might have poured one for you as well, Mick. I remember pouring up at least 3 anyway. There was an event on here. And you've leaned over to the sink and reached for the tap. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And you'd be like, no, I'm just adding a bit of water, opens it up, man. But, there's so many things wrong with this picture. You haven't fucking tried it, and that's fucking tap water. Like, no, stop it now, or I'm just going to take it off you.
Yeah. Stop.
And then you had a sip, and you're like, you're right. This doesn't need water at all. Yeah. Like, well, if it does, let's get some filtered stuff.
That's it. Never add chlorine to your whiskey. It's a good rule to live by. Don't add chlorine to your whiskey.
Fluoride?
Well, look, you can't filter fluoride out of all the water, so while I prefer not to, you can't taste the shit. But
that's what I thought. Fluoride was tasteless.
I do remember that.
Don't add chlorine to your whiskey, though. You can taste chlorine. It's fucking horrible, and it will ruin your whiskey.
I do remember that night, Rick. That was quite funny. You've also prompted another earlier experience with whiskey. It was with Irish whiskey, some tasting, because I was seeing a girl that worked in a bar. I just saw free whiskey and went, ooh.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
Sounded pretty cool. Got to learn a little bit about it, and that's where I got onto the couple of drops of water in it. Yeah. Obviously, there wasn't a tap nearby, so I took it out of the glass that was on the table. Well, probably filtered in hindsight.
The dropper and the filtered water here.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, nice. So was that your first experience with good whiskey?
It was Jameson.
Okay. Jury's out then.
First experience with good whiskey, it's probably through you guys. Just sampling bits and pieces over the years and showing an interest. You guys are always happy to talk and share your knowledge, and you're even happy to share a dram, which is great. And through that, you got me onto the whiskey club, and it's all downhill from there.
Ain't it?
Hasn't it been?
And now you're in the same boat as the rest of us, spending too much money on whiskey and feeling bad about it, but not feeling bad about it at all.
So I really need to do a food shop, but shit, I really want to double up this month's whiskey club purchase.
So what was the last thing you bought?
The last thing I bought is last thing I bought that I've received, or the last thing I've bought that hasn't arrived yet?
Go for both.
Yeah, give us both.
That hasn't arrived yet is the Lagavulin 11, the Offerman edition through the Whiskey Club.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
The last thing I purchased that I have received is actually a GlenDronach. It's the single cask 1993 26-year-old.
Right.
Yeah.
Was that, you got 2 of those?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. And I'm not eating for a month now.
And it's fucking worth it.
Well, that's the reason I went to the GlenDronach tasting during the week. So I could taste
stock
it.
Up on hors d'oeuvres.
No, I could taste that whiskey and maybe not have to open it.
Steal the crisp bread.
Yeah, well, that too.
So tell us a little more about this tasting. What did you taste the other night?
It was all GlenDronach. We had, similar to what we're doing here with the Revival, it was the original 12-year-old. It was one from 2011, which was Billy Walker, and one from this year, I believe, which is Rachel Barry. So that was quite interesting, the differences coming out of that. Followed was the 18, so the Alidus. Then the Parliament, the 21.
How was that? That looks...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both of them, they made a good line. The Alidus is a good one for a Tinder date, because each sip you have, you get something different. So it can be a really bad Tinder date and you've got no conversation. You both have another sip and you've got something more to say.
Okay, right.
Jesus, I think you're fucking lucky if you're picking up a Tinder date that has any fucking understanding of whiskey whatsoever. On that alone, she's a keeper.
Yep. So from the 21, it was onto the 93 single cask, which was something else.
Pretty special.
I definitely have to put it up there with one of the better ones I've
Alright.
ever tasted.
Actually,
Nice.
we should throw back to the Lafroig episode where we did the tasting. Camo was actually the gentleman that basically instigated.
He was
that
the
evening,
orchestrator of
yeah.
that event, wasn't he?
Well,
the
orchestrated
orchestrator
our
of us,
attendance, yeah.
attending the event. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Which, no regrets whatsoever. That
Fuck.
was
That was a very good
a
night.
pretty special
So-
evening.
So, I suppose then we'd be well within our rights to be pissed off that we didn't get an invite to this tasting then.
I took a client for someone's birthday, so
All right, you'll get away with it.
I can understand why you wouldn't want us two ruffians.
That's fair. It is fair. So what else after the 21-year-old?
after the 21, it was onto that 93 single cast. The one, it's exclusive to Australia. I believe it's the first exclusive cast to Australia. There's been one that's been split before, so it's pretty cool. It was brought in by the Whiskey List and met one of the guys from the Whiskey List at that Lafroig tasting, so that's what kind of got me onto it.
Look at it all tie in.
In a neat little package.
Ain't it purty?
Yeah, beauty.
And what was your pick of the night?
Should throw in that after the tasting was over, the bar staff had brought over another bottle. It was an 96 18-year-old, and it was so dark. It looked like chocolate syrup. That might have been my pick of the night.
Yeah, right. So it wasn't part of the tasting.
It wasn't
just
part of the
bar
tasting.
stuff, right?
Yeah, the bar staff brought it over just to compare colouring, and because the single cask, it's a 26-year-old. The 18 was the 96 was an 18-year-old, and you put the colour side by side, and it was ridiculous. The younger one was way darker,
Yeah, right.
and almost like treacle. Like we were talking about the possibility of having it over ice cream.
Nice.
That's funny. I said the same thing about the PX, and in that episode, the PX Lafroig, and in that same episode, I said I could do the same thing with this. I'm starting to lean more towards the PX, even though this is sweet as all hell.
Look, and I don't see myself pouring anything that costs.
You'll never fucking see me pour single malt over ice cream, I'll tell you that much, but I can't wait to see Rick do it.
I'll do it, and then I'll make that sauce recipe that I found as well.
Good call.
That whiskey sauce, and we'll give it. Would
That
you try
I might
that?
try. I might try a specifically developed whiskey sauce.
Oh no,
Whiskey
and no,
sauce.
actually, I don't think I mentioned this. I said that Amaric.
That's the
That's
one.
right,
Yeah,
into
yeah.
the Amaric.
That
was
is
what you-
sweet as all hell.
Yeah.
That's like Christmas pudding in a frigging glass.
I've got 1 dram of that left. Kills the bottle.
Really?
Isn't
Putting
that
it
a
all into
sad
it for a
place
while.
to be?
I
It's such a
believe
sad
I
place to
have
be.
about 3 or 4 of those.
I've got several bottles that are just down to they're at the
Yeah.
full fucking dram up. So just looking at them depresses me. So they're in the corner.
You make your own little blend.
Yeah. Oh. But they're such good whiskies, and they're whiskies that it would take a fair bit of effort and cost to get them again.
That's,
But what do? You just drink whiskey because it's distilled to be drunk.
It is.
That's that's
Made
where
to
the
be
joy comes
enjoyed.
from. There's a limited amount of joy at looking at my whiskey collection. There's a great
Yeah,
amount of joy
yours
is-
at
Oh, yeah.
fugetting drinking it.
yeah.
Yours is very well displayed.
Yeah,
it's
it
just
is.
I happen to be lucky enough to have those shelves in the spots that they are. I didn't build them; they're just there.
I'm at the point I have to get rid of some books to display my whiskey better.
I would love to line my whole hall with just shelves. That would be fun.
That would be fun
But
and
I have
impressive.
but I have a 4-month-old that would absolutely demolish that.
Absolutely destroy them. And I don't even think I'd get schadenfreude from that. I think I'd just
That's way too close
I'd just
to
be
home.
sad.
Yeah.
I'd just be deeply, and I'd be angry. angry that you were so irresponsible. But yeah, that's my issue, not yours.
Yeah.
So, gents, I think we can all say that the Billy Walker version of the GlenDronach revival is fucking outstanding.
Yeah,
It is.
I'm getting some nice now that the palate's sort of what do you say, been restrained by all the flavors, and the getting some nice wood notes coming through.
So I'm very keen, especially after last episode's journey to Benriac and interaction with the great Dr. Rachel Barry. I'm very keen on seeing what her version is. And from first impressions, the robe is a little less impressive. So there's no...
It's a little weaker, isn't it?
There's no really... The robe is not big. It's there. There is a robe, but it is not as big. Oh, and that's very different on the nose.
It is. There's a lot more, more alcohol vapor.
There is, and it's deeper. So the sugar bomb, the sherry doesn't come through. So
No, that
Nowhere
smells
near
the
as much.
forefront.
You're getting it way more bottom end.
Yeah, there's some dark stone fruits in there, maybe plum, cherry.
Mm.
There's some bitters, like the old Angostura bitters
Yep.
from your lemon lime
Yeah, for
bitters.
sure.
So it's that herbal.
Just trying to put my finger on what that was. Oh, that doesn't smell anywhere near as nice on the nose.
It's very different. I don't think it's not nice. I just think we're comparing something that's incredibly sweet on the nose, being Billy Walker's. This isn't as sweet, but this has more depth to it, I feel. But you're right, there seems to be that little bit more vapor that's there. That
And I wonder if that comes from the fact that this probably is an actual 15-year-old.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
it doesn't have the extra few years
Yeah.
from the
Hasn't
mothballing.
mellowed. But yeah, there is that almost. It's almost like a sour note on the high end.
I'm trying to work out what it is.
Sour, bitter,
Yeah.
orange rind.
Yeah, that's a.
Yeah, okay.
I fucking hate
But
orange rind.
Maybe that's mixing with the bitters.
It is, more bitter.
But there's something there that I can't put my finger on. But then again, I can't put my finger on everything. But I don't think it noses differently to the Billy Walker, but I don't find it inferior. I just think it's different.
I have a bit of a bias here, and I'm finding it slightly inferior. Especially on the palate, it's a lot spicier.
I haven't had a
yeah.
mouthful yet, so
I find it spicier. I don't want to offer
just
the power
going
of
back,
suggestion.
nosing between the two. Yeah, the Billy Walker's smells smoother on the nose. So much sweeter.
It's a rounder.
Yeah,
rounder
more
and
rounded,
sweeter.
fuller and more round.
But yeah, there's a note to the R squared that I can't put my finger on.
Yeah, I find it's like high-end orange mandarin peel or something like that. It's citrusy kind of, but the orangey citrus. Grapefruit even has that bitterness.
Pardon me. Very different on the palate too.
I'm surprised they even labelled this the same.
I was literally just thinking that this tastes different enough that I would probably have chosen to brand this differently.
I don't know where it came from, but I heard that there was some people who really liked the Billy Walker edition that were a bit dirty about the new edition being called the same thing.
I'm not at all surprised if you really, really like that Billy Walker, which I do thoroughly. You could, in a blind tasting, there's no way you'd even say that these probably came from the same place. Completely different animals, I think. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh.
No, I think they're really different. I think there's more there's more of an aspect of this one's almost chewy. You know, there's it's the bottom end of flavors really comes through. The finish is long, not as bitter, nowhere near as sweet, but it really feels it's incredibly smooth though. Still, the whiskey is still incredibly smooth. It's hitting different notes on the palate.
And they're not bad notes.
Of course not. They're just different. But the finish is probably longer, I think, on this. This has that.
Yeah.
It's funny. I think the robe is less impressive, but the finish and the texture in the mouth, it feels like it's.
Yeah, it lingers a lot more.
So that chewiness that it's like this has got the superior viscosity for mine, but I love an oily.
Yeah,
I love an oily whiskey. I love
I'm
it.
feeling the top notes on the finish of this are just lasting for days.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I finished a sip almost a minute ago, and it's still
hanging out.
And it's
still
still
hanging.
big on the finish too. Like it's not a finish that fades away. This is a big finish that stands up, and is it's in your face. The finish. It's actually standing in front of you going, fucking have another sip.
Come at me, bro.
But it's delightful.
Yeah, by all means, it's not a bad whiskey.
The vanilla
Not at
isn't
all.
as predominant as the Billy Walker, nor is the treacle.
No, not at all. They're totally different animals for my money.
They are. I would, if it was up to me, I would brand these. If it was my decision, I would brand these very differently.
Yeah, I'm sort of struggling to comprehend why it was branded the same. Maybe I think just because it was a 15-year-old. Maybe because the label had prestige and recognition.
And potentially they wanted to showcase the difference between the two as well, because as far as from what we've discussed, the major difference seems to be the lack of Pedro Jimenez in the R squared. Is that correct, or have I remembered that incorrectly?
You've got it around the other way.
Other way
That's
around.
what it was always going to happen.
Yeah.
But
But it also, I'd like to know a little bit more about how long it spent time in each cask as well.
And the extra age on the Billy Walker, right? It's a minimum of 4 years older.
That's always gonna round something off so much more nicely.
well, that's true, because realistically, as far as I'm concerned, everything needs to spend more time in wood. But you're right, the fact that, and maybe that is the difference on this bottom end and on the finish, but there's no sharpness. I don't feel that the 15-year-old, sorry, they're both 15-year-olds. I don't feel that the R squared is inferior to the OG. I think they just.
You're a generous man.
I just think they're different. They feel like different expressions to me.
If I was going to lay a preference down, it's definitely for the OG.
Well, I haven't revisited the OG yet. And you have been shown to be able to sway my opinion from time to time, even if you do just fucking leave me there and then go back to the original one. Prick. Fucking this guy.
However, the R Squared did win a double gold last year at the San Fran International World Spirits Competition.
I think it's worthy of a double gold. Like, and I suppose this is the beauty of doing a revival versus revival. But I would be absolutely delighted to have the R squared in my hand, and I think the only reason that you've been not unkind to it, but the reason that you have a preference is simply because you've got something that's got, and I think it is that extra age. It's that extra age, but it's the sweetness as well.
Yeah. But you are, You're comparing apples and oranges, even though they're both dressed like fucking pears.
Agreed. Yeah, you're right. They shouldn't be in the same box.
Yeah.
They're completely different whiskies.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm finding the feeling the R squared has it has a pinch. It has a bit of spice to it that it tastes way more youthful than the OG.
Well, I'm about to go back to the AG, the OG.
I'm just back on it now. I'm interested to see reactions.
It smells so much smoother, so much rounder.
Oh, fuck.
What are you getting on the end of that?
So hang on. No,
Just
I
a
can't.
deep, smooth bottom.
That's... I mean, look at the fucking robe on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I'm with you. Yeah, I was defensive of Dr. Barry
You were, yeah.
because
That is still a delicious whiskey.
it is. It's still, maybe that's indicative of fucking, all kinds of issues within my own head. But I felt the need to defend Dr. Barry's malt because it is fantastic. But that fucking Billy Walker, that's...
Yeah. I think if anything, it's the
It's the balance.
But the mothballing that has made this. It's the 4 or 5 years that they've undercut on the label that has just set this apart.
Yeah, and to be honest, I agree 100%. Knowing that that's where because of the mothballing, that some of these guys have spent significantly more time in wood. But it's the balance. It's the balance of the fucking OG. Like that's
what I think time has given it.
What year was it? You said that they
90.
changed from coal to steam heating.
Oh, revisiting the notes. I like it.
2005.
2005. So that's the Rachel Barry,
Okay.
and it's a 2018 bottling. So it was
2018.
distilled in 2003. So before that change.
All right.
So my point
that is
I
what
was
Brown
coming
Foreman
to was
took over.
redundant.
Yeah. Unless this was done before 2005.
That's 2015.
So that would have been part of the 96. It's either 96 or earlier that it was laid down. Like, you think the last thing that they distilled was in 1996.
And when did they
Before
change from coal to
mothballed.
steam?
2005.
2005, yeah.
So it's redundant for these two.
Yeah. So it was closed until 2002. So that spirit has to be at least from 96, or older.
Yeah.
So it was bottled in 2015, so that makes it a 19-year-old at the very, very least.
And that would explain the difference between the balance and the smoothness.
That's what
of
I
both of
believe.
them as
That's why
15-year-olds.
that's why the R squared has that sort of that pepper, that bit of bite, has a wee bit of spice.
There is something else to it.
would be-
I wish I could put my finger on it, but I just can't.
It would be really interesting to... It's not probably possible with anything, but to have a similar comparison with the same master blender, but that same age gap. So one's still got that extra 4 years, at least in the barrel, and just to see the differences that will come out from the same distiller. Because here you got two people with obviously different palates.
Well, yeah, and then she'd have to be involved with it.
Yeah.
The blender and distiller are different people, but you'd like her to be, Dr. Barry, to be involved for that whole, say,
For the whole
21
process,
year
yeah.
period.
Yeah. I'm impressed with both drams. But yeah, I think there's a winner.
I think so. I'm not sorry that I went out and bought up a few of the Billy Walkers.
Yeah, so how many of these do you have in your collection now?
5 unopened.
That's impressive.
That is impressive.
Yeah. I'm kicking myself that I opened the first one that I got. Where in hindsight, I should have doubled up.
Whiskey Club prices. I paid overs. I discovered whiskey auctions and bought 2 bottles in my first online auction, and then found out about getting stung with duty and things on the way back into the country. So I paid massive overs.
This is all part of
But
your
still,
journey.
man,
though.
It is.
Yeah, but holding on to these, I still think you'll flip a big profit, especially, come 10, 20 years time. They're going to be worth a monster.
So this one that I opened one of the ones that I paid most for after a particularly tough job. But yep, cool, got through it, rewarded myself, and I'm not sorry I opened it. I ended up paying, I think, $3.50 for the bottle once I was all in.
Yeah, Juice, that's up there.
Yeah, but
But what was
look,
the last
it's
one? The last one we bought was what, $2.50 though.
$2.50 from the club, yeah.
Yeah.
So the extra 100 was import, shipping, duty, all that kind of crap.
Yeah, you know, worthwhile. I mean, look, you pay what you feel a bottle is worth,
That's it.
and you don't have to explain nor justify your decision to anyone. Opening the bottle, on the other hand, is a different kettle of fish,
Mm-hmm.
because all of a sudden you're arguing with yourself, and there's no other cunt I fucking argue with than myself, and I am a prick to argue with.
Yeah,
And
you
so
are.
you get your head noise. This is I mean, obviously, I'm very pleased you opened it because I'm drinking it, but I think
Yeah, we got to thank you for contributing the OG to the cause.
absolutely.
Anything to get on the show, boys? If this is what's got to happen, what am I going to open next?
We'll give you a list. But it's been really interesting and rewarding. I mean, yeah, Rick and I have obviously been trying to get a lot of our mates to expand their horizons whiskey wise for a serious amount of time, because we both enjoy it so much. We want to share it. It's been really cool watching you get into whiskey, watching you explore whiskey, watching you fucking jump in and just go, right, this is what I do now. It's
sort of neck deep in the whiskey quicksand.
fuck yeah.
Oh, massively. I have to stop myself. It's like we go to trivia every week, and Mick will walk in, and I have to remind myself, make sure you say hello and talk about something other than whiskey first up.
And sometimes you forget. It's wonderful.
Did you see this one? What about that? Club purchase, this.
Actually, that's what you hit me with, when I rocked up the other day.
Yeah.
Trying to park the car.
Yeah.
Did you see the club? Did you see what the club's doing?
But it's cool because you've gotten into it. Like you've found your love for whiskey. You can't fake.
I
love
don't
for whiskey.
need any more expensive hobbies.
No, but you know, how many hobbies?
Well,
And
yeah,
this is a
yeah.
serious question. How many hobbies are as rewarding as fucking whiskey? Okay.
Extreme
Now-
sports, and they're
now-
all very, very expensive.
All of a sudden, I've realised that I have to fucking actually put some framework around that, because I have no hobbies, so I don't know what people consider as hobbies out there and how rewarding they are. But I find whiskey to be extremely rewarding, and apart from extreme sports, which I imagine would be incredibly expensive.
That's it. Well, yeah. Well, I spent. Okay, the only thing I
Well, because
really,
you both fucking do extreme sports.
the only
I mean,
thing
you're both
I lashed
fucking
out on
snowboarders.
with my rig basically are like my bindings and my boots, but they're resort bindings and boots. I got a really sweet deal on my board. How much did your split setup cost you?
My first one. Look, yeah.
See, I'm probably looking at maybe about, it would be under $500 for my, I'd say close to 400 for
mate,
my, actually it'd be 500 for my boots, bindings and board.
I paid over 500. I've paid 800 for boots.
Yeah.
For split board specific boots.
Yeah.
Split board bindings and
How are the split board boots different? Yeah.
they're not split board boots as such. They're just more geared to touring, so spending more time walking, because you do.
Okay, so they're a lot more softer and
when
mobile.
When you go out in a split board, you spend more time walking up a hill than you do riding down.
For sure.
A lot of people who ski and snowboard don't see the appeal. It's just like, fuck that. Why the hell would you want to walk up a hill when I could jump on this machine that takes me to the top?
But surely,
But to
the
ride the
only
same
way to
track
get
that
to the
7,000
most
other pricks have
awesome
ridden.
fucking places that no one else. And just to qualify, I don't even do snow. just don't do it. Did it
Don't
once.
you hate the cold?
Did it once. Did it once in high school. Had an enjoyable experience. Realised snow is not for me. I'm a guy that is very comfortable in spring and summer because it's not fucking cold and there's no fucking snow. Snow is not something I'm into. But you guys do snow in a big way. You both do snow in a big way. So I suppose the question I'm asking in relation to your point is, my single experience from snow is going up a chairlift, getting to the same spot, and then riding the same run down, or walking or tumbling down the same run, because I don't do snow. So surely the only way to get to awesome places where there's no other cunt, and the powder's fresh and it's surely the only way to get to the actually fucking good spots would be to walk.
Or if you're rich enough, helicopter.
Well, we don't need to start talking about helicopters at this stage. But,
that's part of the purity of it. You're not using mechanized.
Yeah, it's all your own
ways. It's foot power.
This is why I call it cross-country snowboarding.
Sorry, I misheard you before.
That's okay. Happens all the time. I say things that people think are the wrong things, but they're actually not. And once they come around, it's fine. But so, take us through some of the...
your gear. Getting back to your gear.
All right. Gear. You need
How much did the whole rig cost you?
Whole rig. Thousands.
Yeah.
That's an easy word to say. Let's be specific.
Okay, snowboard and bindings. Then you need skins. So, say about $1,000 for the board. You need anywhere up to $500 for the bindings. This is all new. You can find second-hand gear. You need the pucks to go with the bindings. There's $100.
What are they?
That's what the bindings slide onto on the board.
Okay. And what'd you say, $100?
Yeah, about that.
All right.
Then you need your skins that I mentioned before.
Yep.
Say $200 to $300 there.
Okay, I'll be generous.
You need poles, we carry the collapsible poles.
Stocks. Yeah.
They're say 100, 150. That's basic gear. Then you're going into the backcountry.
Well, so you're naked at the moment.
Okay, so...
Oh, you're wearing boots. So.
Well, I haven't given a price on the boots.
Actually, I hadn't, yeah.
Yeah, so boots. So say $500. I have paid more than that, but I kind of got them too close to a fire in Kashmir. So boots, you've got they only need jacket and pants. They need good waterproof gear because the weather can turn at any time. You're wanting Gore-Tex, so a set of Gore-Tex bibs will set you back $700. Jacket, $500. Oh my god!
Yeah, but
I'm just starting to realise. Safety gear. So, you need your gloves, goggles.
Yeah, you haven't got it yet. Did you ride with a helmet when you're out there?
Yes. So let's say 100. That's conservative. I've just ordered some new gloves. They're retail $300. Goggles again, up to $200. Depending on what you get.
And thank fuck you live in an Arctic environment so you can do this shit out the fucking back door and you don't have to travel anywhere to do it, right?
Yeah, I know, it's a pain in the ass. And then you need a safety gear as well. So you shouldn't be going into the backcountry without a shovel, an avalanche beacon and a probe. So in the event of an avalanche you can find your friends and hopefully save their lives. So it's another combined probably $700-800, and you should have the training to use it. There's another couple $100. It's not including travel there or lodging.
Just being prepared now, ready to step out the door and say, right, this is what I'm going to do today. You've already done 5,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, but whiskey's a really expensive habit.
I guess I can enjoy it more often. Whiskey.
Well, that's fair. And in saying that, it's, I don't want to give the wrong impression. You're not just a bloke that fucking gets his gear and then goes up Threadbow, every year and that's it.
Well, I do. I do that as well.
But not just that. So and part of the reason that we're having a dram is because you've pushed yourself. You've taken risks. You've gone to places that are potentially not safe to go to.
Yep.
To pursue your passion of riding mountains, of taking it on, and that's something that's impressive, and it's something that's I got a lot of respect for. You've put yourself well out there. So I'd take us I'm sure you've got plenty of stories, but take us through a particular time, Kashmir or in another place that made you feel as though you had pushed as far as you could push, and you were that far out of your comfort zone that you weren't sure what was going to happen next.
That would probably be the first day that I rode in the backcountry in Gulmarg in Kashmir. That was in 2017. I had got along to do an avalanche course, discovered this place called Kashmir through the guy that trained the course. Then decided I was going. The photos and the video looked epic. Just, that's it, I'm going. Worked towards it, bought my ticket, jumped on a flight. Mate, that place is something else. You get off the flight. I've never had any inclination to go to India in my life. I even said it to an ex-girlfriend. I've got no interest in going there. But then I found out they have mountains and it's the Himalayas, and all of a sudden I've been 3 years running. So you get off the plane and you've never seen so much military. Just pricks with guns everywhere. Razor wire, pillboxes, it's full on. Anyway, you get through all that, get up to the mountains. And
why is it like that?
Kashmir is a disputed territory. It has been for generations.
Okay. Is that a... now, forgive me, I'm terrible with geography. Is that a Pakistan, India?
Yeah, it's northern. Well, it's topical right now. It's northernmost state of India, or was up until a couple of months ago, and it's been disputed with Pakistan for years, basically since the British pulled out in the 40s.
So this all used to be India, right? Because Pakistan used to be India, right? Until they had a religious kind of a dogmatic shift.
Well, isn't Pakistan
Pakistan's Muslim, and I believe
so maybe it's where they...
Yeah, Kashmir is the only state in India that is predominantly Muslim.
Okay.
All the other, it goes back...
Hindu or Sikh, yeah.
That's a can of worms going into why it is how it is. But yeah, it's a predominantly Muslim state. It's been disputed since the British pulled out in the 50s. It was... people were concerned when there's been multiple wars fought over it.
It's a fucking hardcore part of the world to be going and visiting.
People were concerned it was going to trigger a nuclear war in the 90s.
Yeah, well, because smarter minds than mine have always thought that the most likely source of a modern day nuclear conflict would be between Pakistan and India, simply because of the tensions there and the fact that I believe Pakistan are nuclear capable. But anyway, we digress.
Yeah.
So it seems like a
you've
really
landed
hardcore spot.
Yeah, you've landed in, and you said you've gotten through all the military.
Yeah, you get through all that, and you get up to the mountains.
How long does that take you?
It's only about an hour and a half.
And what are they checking you pretty nuts, or going through all your shit, or just
on the way in?
Yeah.
No, on the way out. Look, I've never had bags. Everything's searched so much in my life. Wow. They literally, you got a laptop in your bag. You in Srinagar, they literally make you open it, turn it on to make sure it's a functioning electronic device. And you've been checked multiple. Tell you what, though, I've never felt safer getting on a plane.
Sure.
Shit, if anyone can get anything on here, good on to it.
Well done.
But yeah, we get up to Gulmarg, and it's just a 6 kilometre ridgeline. It goes up to 4,000 metres. There's still military everywhere. On the way up the mountain, there's snow piled metres high off to the side. 2 cars can barely pass, and then all of a sudden a fucking military convoy comes past, and you must pull over for them. So it's all still very full on. You get to the top of the mountain, there's a fucking base up at 4,000 metres. If you go out into the backcountry, you've got to go around one of the bases. And when you're up the peak, you're 7 kilometres from the unofficial border, the line of control between India and Pakistan. So it's pretty full on. So the first...
Did you ever see any military personnel up?
Yeah, they're often up there at the top, but there's always guys up at the station.
Are they on skis and stuff as well, or?
Yeah, they can't ski for shit.
So is it border patrol for them, or is it more they're just
Well,
keeping an eye on things? Is there an agenda? Like
they're always looking out for militants from
Okay.
Pakistan
'Cause
coming
I suppose
across.
there'd be a lot of, it'd be a hotbed for that kind of
Oh yeah.
terrorist activity. And
This year when I was over
subversives.
there was pretty full on like that. I'd wake up and go, everyone I'd hear there was something big had happened overnight, and like, oh, I just thought that was thunder last night. Apparently it wasn't.
right.
So while you were over there, you were hearing sounds of conflict.
Yeah.
While you were.
This year, whilst we were
that's
over
intense.
there had been a terrorist attack in Srinagar, which is the town that you land in, but a little in the other direction from the centre of the town. Military convoy had been attacked, and a lot of people died, and that tensions kicked off. They were lobbing shells.
So the experience that you have there when you go over there must be fucking incredibly rewarding for you to continue to take that risk and to continue to go back there.
Oh, it's paradise.
So
It is.
Take
Yeah.
us through it. Take us through the risk. Take us through what makes it worth the risk that you take when you go over there.
They get meters and meters and meters of snowfall per year, and because of all the things I've just discussed, a lot of people are afraid to go
Hesitant
there,
to, check it
hesitant
out.
to go there, or they book a trip and tensions flare up, and then they cancel a trip, and so there's fuck all people there. You've got acres and acres of terrain to be explored, and you've more or less got it to yourself. So, but that, going back to your question, which was, I was talking about the first day I went out in the backcountry. It was, you go up, you've gone through all of that to get there. You get up to the top, you go around past the army base, you're going out into real avalanche terrain. And again, I was only recently trained in just avalanche safety, so it was all very new, and you're just overwhelmed by how big these mountains are and how big the consequences are if something goes wrong. Because ultimately, if you trigger something, you got 15 minutes. So you got to be pretty confident that your friends can dig you out, or you can do the same, or it's going to be a very bad day. And
how many were you in there? How many of you were there in that?
there was only 3 of us that day.
Okay.
I was by far the most least
But it's
experienced.
the sort of thing that you don't do alone.
Mate, I've ridden with you a bunch of times,
Yeah.
and I would not ride with you in the backcountry until I know
I
that
totally
you
understand.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't been
So-
trained the same way that you have.
Exactly. So you choose your riding partners in the mountains very,
Okay.
very carefully.
So I guess that was somewhat of an honour then, if you're not that experienced, for them guys to.
Well, I had booked in on a tour, so it was organised, and then
Okay.
we'd done a bit of riding the couple of days before,
Yeah.
and then they'd obviously seen that I could handle
Well,
myself
you've
enough.
you're one of the most skilled riders I know, like that I ride with, by far, actually.
Thank you.
Between probably you and Schulte, but
Yeah, it comes with
both
when
got
you
completely
spend.
different styles.
Yeah.
So,
I
comes
have
with-
no valid opinion to input here, so I should probably
Just
stay quiet. But I just wanted to input that I had no valid opinion of input there, because I don't do snow, as you were.
But yeah, that day just scared the shit out of me, and at the end of it was the most rewarding, because you came down this huge alpine ridgeline. It's not like you see in the movies, where the snowboard movies, where they just bomb it from the top and they're all riding it together and hoo-haing and weaving turns in and out. It's methodical. It's, you start from the top and you go, okay, how are we feeling about the snow? And everyone's got to be on the same page, and you work out a safe point that we're going to work towards, and you go one at a time.
Okay.
Everyone keeps eyes on that person. When they get to the bottom, they signal or radio that they're okay, and next one does the same
Is that how
thing.
you were in contact with walkies?
Yeah,
Yep.
walkies or hand signals. So.
Okay.
And you work your way down the mountain that way, and it got to the bottom, or towards, where by that point we're only probably halfway down this ridgeline, but we had the choice of traversing across to try and make our way back to the lift that takes you to the top without having to transition and skin out using the split board. Or it was a case of, we can continue going down here. The guy that was guiding us goes, I've never actually been down here, we can just go for an explore. So,
Fuck yeah, that's the option I would have taken every day of the week. Mind you, I would have ended up dead. So
well, I very much thought I was going to at one point. I've got one guy that's done 7 seasons over there, and another guy who goes to heli ski in Alaska every year. He's like almost a mechanized heli guide, and I'm way out on my depth here. But then we choose exploring. We go down through those trees. It's a lot of fun. We can have a bit of fun together there. And this last section was...
Is it once you get to the tree line, shit usually gets safer?
dense trees are anchors in the snowpack.
That's exactly what I thought.
Sparse trees are not. And you keep an eye out for any particularly wide open patches.
Okay.
And particularly trees that might be missing limbs, or I've only got small trees growing up through there. That's an obvious avalanche path.
Right. See, that to the untrained eye would just be like, oh, it's a fucking bowl, let's fucking smash it.
Exactly. Or to the bloke that doesn't do snow, like, fuck yeah, look at all this clear space that I could fucking go down.
This is way easier than going down through those trees.
Fuck these trees.
Well, that's what we end up doing. We got to the top of this steep face. We were pretty confident by this point because we've ridden from the top. We've been following they do a daily snow bulletin on what the safety's doing, and the recent snowfall had it.
So is that a fair assumption then? If there is going to be an avalanche, it's going to start higher up, and if it didn't start higher up, then the stuff lower is going to be okay or good. Or
it can start.
Sounds like a punt to me.
It can start anywhere.
Yeah. Okay.
There is the danger of someone triggering something miles up above you and you just being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
But it tends to trigger on environmental circumstances, doesn't it? So to be
snow doesn't like rapid change.
Yeah. So there's a shift in the ground. Either conditions or temperature, or there's something that, like a loud noise or something that's creates a.
For a guy who doesn't do snow, he's
physics.
Snow doesn't like rapid change. So temperature, weight. Heat, rapid loading, all sorts of things can trigger it. And
you guys thought you were safe?
Yeah. Well, at that point, we'd ridden a lot of the mountain. We'd seen no signs of activity. So we were working on assumptions.
You made an informed decision.
Yeah. But this face scared the shit out of me. I'm with the other two guys. The heli guy, he goes first and smashes it and just makes it look easy, like everything.
Oh, awesome. Just bring everyone else's level of confidence artificially high in a really dangerous situation. Perfect.
Then it's left with Sandy and I at the top. And he's like, oh, so we just go down through here. And I'm like, yep, cool. He goes, you want to go first? And he's Scottish as well. We enjoy a few drams while we're over there. So what, you want to go first? I'm like, oh, shit myself. And I was going to go over here, so I can't really get around. You go. And so, all right. Last thing he says to me is, if anything rips, just scream Avi. And then he's gone. I had my GoPro on at the time, and he literally does 3 turns and he's out of your view. That's how steep it was. Shit. And then I'm just left there in these trees atop this little clearing, just shitting myself. Took me a while to actually get going. Slide out onto the face, and the audio from the GoPro is just repeated cursing. Fuck, and then shimmy out and go, all right, go. And just trying to commit to that first turn was torturous.
Is that due to the steepness?
Yeah, it was so steep. Like I was standing upright and I just put my hands back, and they were touching the face behind me. And so it's just dropping away in front. And to be fair, it wasn't a long run.
But you'll lose 3 foot altitude just making that turn.
Yeah. And this is my first time in the Himalayas backcountry. It was my first time in real avalanche terrain. I was standing at the top of something that was the steepest thing that I've ever put myself on top of. It was fucking scary.
So it's a long way to ship that coffin.
Yeah.
But you pulled the trigger.
I did. I committed to that turn. Didn't make it look pretty. There's a thing called slough, which is type of avalanche. There's the snow that you displace during your turns that has the potential to come down as it is an avalanche in form, but it has the potential to take you off your feet, and in a high consequence area can be a lot of trouble, and I've never had to deal with that before. It's a couple of turns and all of a sudden I can nearly get taken off my feet. Fuck! Linked some turns together, got through it, and mate, the grin on my face once we got to the bottom was unbelievable. We transitioned, we skinned out of there, and I was just rattling off to the boys. That was fucking incredible. It's the steepest thing ever. The face had these little spines, which is a terrain feature. I've never had to deal with that. That was the best snow I've ever had. There's this, it was that, and they were laughing at. Well, they were loving that I was loving it. They were both like, it's okay day.
Like watching someone that's just had their first fucking 8 ball of lines of coke in one hit.
That was just.
Yeah, good boy.
It was that changed everything for me, and I basically swore from that point that I'd go back there every year that I'm physically able, and I haven't disappointed so far.
Fuck, good on you, man. That's fucking awesome.
So you're saying you had a dram with a few drams with old mate Scottish. What sort of whiskies are you getting your hands on over there? Do you have to smuggle it in? Like,
yeah, you have to bring it in.
Okay.
Yeah,
you
of course,
don't,
because it would be. So, hang on. Let me try and hypothesize here. So it's a Muslim state.
Yes.
Within a country that's non-Muslim, but you would still assume that even if it wasn't illegal, that alcohol would be very difficult to get your hands on.
It's not straightforward.
And it may be policed. Is it policed? Or is it not really, but it's just not sold?
It's not easy to get hold of.
Yep.
The first time I arrived, we stopped to do a beer run from the airport. Leaving Srinagar, we're going up the mountain, stopped for a beer run. I had no rupees, so I bought a 6-pack, not thinking. And my cool, this is fucking sick. I'd been stopped by the cops as we're leaving the airport just because I had a massive beard and they wanted a photo with me. Scared the shit out of me. So I'm like, G'd up, long distance travel. You guys don't mind if I crack a beer, right? I started drinking. What I didn't know is there's a couple of different types of beers over there. There's Kingfisher, the predominant brand.
Yeah, I've had that before. It's
the green and the red. They're 2 usual ones you can get. Now, they're not a certain percentage. They give you a percentage range on the back. And the red is like, say Cooper's Red. It's a strong beer.
5.5, 5.6.
But it says it ranges from like 5.5 to 7.5%.
Jesus Christ.
And me not realising, I'm just like, sick, this is great. Let's fucking smash that can and next can. Yeah. I'd done three 500ml cans before we got to the mountain.
Jeez.
And then I realised that there is no bottle shop up there. So I've just done half my beer.
Ouch.
So yeah, it's tough to get. You got to go down to Srinagar to do a run.
So
you don't drink the spirits because it's all ethanol based.
So you would have been fucked on your first trip. That's fair enough. You're unprepared. But moving forward from that, you would have been prepared, right?
Yeah.
So the important question is, what whiskey are you running in your flask when you run in the backcountry at Kashmir?
Lafroig PX cask.
Lovely.
Fucking nice choice.
Yes.
And I discovered it,
nice choice.
like Rickus, by accident at the airport, except I actually enjoyed it first time.
Lovely time.
Yeah, well done.
And then the Scottish, we actually have a little bit of a whiskey party every now and again. There's a few people that bring bottles, and you've got to take it sparingly throughout the season that you're there. The longest I've been there is 2 months, and then right towards the end, everyone's trying to go through all their stuff. So there's generally a bit of a whiskey party. Everyone brings over their bottles and sits there, mountain views out the side, and sits there sampling some drams.
So what's the season for that particular area?
Start of January to the end of March.
Yeah, nice. Are you going back this year? Next year?
I intend to. There's some fresh tension over there at the moment. It's very hard to communicate with my friends in Kashmir at the moment. I won't go into that. But the plan is, yes, still to go back.
Oh, good. Well, we'll follow that up and we'll see if we can... you never know, we might be able to fucking get you over Skype with a flask
Actually, that would be awesome.
while you're there.
That would be awesome.
That'd be real cool. See if we can link you in and do a follow-up, a round 2, as it were, on location.
Nice.
That would be cool.
So what sort of training do you need for this kind of shit? Like you said something about an AVI course before.
AVI course is avalanche safety training.
Okay.
There's a couple of levels, but it's basically the AST level 1 is a 2-day course. You go in there. I mean, I've been running over 20 years, and you walk out going, oh shit, all the fun stuff's dangerous. Like, all the...
Sorry, Cam, to break it to you, but this isn't just in snowboarding. Across the entirety of your life, all of the fun stuff is the most dangerous.
Yeah, fair enough.
But that shouldn't stop you from doing all the fun stuff. Just be prepared to die early.
Did you have to give me that realisation mid-podcast?
I'm a cruel, cruel human.
Back to the training. You do the AST1, you come out there with a little bit of knowledge, but the most important bit of knowledge you walk away with, hopefully, is that there's a shitload more that you need to know.
Okay.
It's just a building block, and basically tries to teach you to try and read the signs to avoid finding yourself in, say, an avalanche situation.
So had you done that training before you put yourself in that avalanche situation
Yes.
that you were just talking to us about?
Yes.
Did you realise when you put yourself in that situation, like, did it click? Did you think that this was potentially just...
because it was a clear avalanche path that...
So why did you make the decision then? Was it because everyone else made the decision?
The human factor is something that's discussed in the course a lot, and that is the reason a lot of people find themselves in sketchy situations. And well, the other guys went, so...
I would have assumed, just based on human psychology, I would assume that if enough people in any group put forward an unsafe option, that everyone in the group is going to follow that option if there's a critical mass.
Yeah, and it's not always going to...
psychology. So that's not a dig at you or anything like that. It's just purely, as I said, I don't do snow, so it's interesting for me to watch or to hear about when it works and when it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But have you ever been, recently watched a documentary on people that climb mountains, and there was a small section in it which followed a filmmaker doing a documentary on some snowboarders that was then caught in an avalanche, which I found very wow. Like it was incredible footage. It had a very big emotional impact on me, which probably may have related to my headspace at the time of viewing it. But it was a documentary that was great, and it was something that I as a non-mountaineer or snowboarder took a lot out of. But I was in full cortisol overdrive while watching it. Like, my body went into full flight or just die mode. It was the adrenaline
That's
pumping.
maybe why I wasn't, because I've seen so much of that kind of footage.
Maybe that's the difference.
I'm curious.
Oh, it's called
Okay,
Mirror.
so the documentary is called Mirror. Yeah. Sorry.
I've heard of it.
And I've mentioned it on the podcast as well. In fact, I recommended Rick watch it, and then Rick said, yeah, I liked it. But he didn't have anywhere near the visceral, like, fucking physical
but I think
I did to it.
And I think that's probably because I've probably seen a lot of that style sort of stuff.
Whereas I've not seen it.
But the story that was told was great, though.
Yeah, it was a very cool story. It was a very well done documentary. But the response that I had to it was very, very physical. Have you ever been in a situation where an avalanche? I mean, you mentioned that pre-avalanche kind of stuff on that first ride. Has there been a situation since where an avalanche happened within the area that you had to deal with the outfall of, or that you've been involved, or anything like that?
Some small ones, yeah. That run that I was talking about, at the bottom of it, one of the guys popped out just a little section, and it was right at the bottom of the hill. It did run off into a little bit of a train trap, but no one was caught. There was no consequence to it. This year when we were over, we took calculated risk. I mentioned earlier, we had the option of cutting off the ridgeline and traversing across to save effort, basically. And on one day this year, we decided we'd take that traverse, knowing that it was the afternoon and the eastern face or the western faces on the sun. Oh, sorry, western faces had the sun on it and had been warmed.
So you've got temperature change.
The likelihood was higher. So again, we're on a bit more of high alert. One at a time, we're doing that traverse and not stopping on any open faces, not stopping until we were at the pre-designated start zones or meet zones. Then a couple of people had done this traverse. Then I think there was 4 in the group, 4 or 5. 2 or 3 of us were already over, and all of a sudden, a couple of them were taking ages. Like, what the fuck's going on? We didn't have walkies at the time, or weren't in communication with the back 2. Waited when I say ages, we were only really 30 seconds apart, and then all of a sudden, someone's taken minutes. Alarm bells start tingling, and it turns out the 4th guy across, the slab triggered underneath him as he was traversing. He was an Aussie guy. He'd not long been over there with us. He's just started riding, and there's that slab let go underneath him. Was probably about 30 centimetres deep, and I think, from memory, about 15 metres wide, and just dragged down towards a gully. He did go for a bit of a slide with it. No consequences, but scary as hell anyway.
Existentially, that must be fucking very.
Oh, he was very, very shaken.
And did he end up below?
He ended up below where like, not by a long. It took him. He managed to remain on his feet on the traverse. Okay. The slab broke and sort of kept together, and he rode. So it took him. Yeah. And then he managed to still ride.
He's come
off the edge of where the slab had broken. So, but scared the crap out of him. And incidentally, later on in the season, some German guys, that happened to them on the same face, but it was early in the morning, which was strange, and it took him for a big ride. He had to deploy his airbag and everything, and then they called it a day after that and went down and did a bit of
explain to Mick what an airbag is.
Okay. Airbag. Oh yeah.
So, just in case you didn't pick it up, I don't do snow.
Don't do snow. All right. Add about another $2,000 to that tally then.
So these things are marvellous inventions, though.
Oh, they are. It's airbag. You basically got an airbag built into a backpack on your back with a ripcord.
There's little CO2 canisters in them.
I'm such a big fan of the ripcord.
There's a couple of different types. Single charge is the canisters that are built in. Problem is, a lot of airlines don't let you fly with them. They're classed as a dangerous good. So the one that I've got is battery powered, and it's it's Jet Force fan. So you pull the cord, and it inflates a 240 litre airbag up your side and around your head in under 4 seconds.
Wow.
And then it keeps inflating for 3 minutes. So if it gets torn on the way down, it will sustain how big it is. And on the, which one's that?
The OG, yeah.
OG? Yeah, go on. The theory is that the larger items...
More of the ask word if you want. I'm still sitting pretty. I'm considering adding water soon.
But yeah,
that's why I'm topping up.
The theory being that larger items end up at the top of an avalanche debris path.
Especially,
yeah, of course, because that makes sense.
That, and also my airbag after 3 minutes. Basically, if you're still being tossed about in an avalanche after 3 minutes,
it's also then a source of oxygen for you to use. If you bury it that deeply enough, you would then be able to breathe the oxygen.
Good thinking.
Well, my airbag will...
Unless it's CO2, in which case...
My airbag will deflate after 3 minutes. So you're left with an air pocket.
In the snow.
In the snow.
Fucking brilliant. So
because
they thought of
it
that.
sets like concrete.
Yes.
MacGyver.
It sets rock hard.
Yeah, no, because
MacGyver.
that's originally that was what I was thinking. Oh, brilliant! You've got this thing that you can draw air out of, but that's right. You mentioned it was CO2, but you've got an air pocket which allows you a limited amount of time to breathe.
Canister ones are CO2. This one's for fan, so it's just atmospheric air.
Well, if it's atmospheric, then yes.
The other thing is with the not being able to fly. There was a thing last year. Young Swedish guys just flew into Gulmarg. They were both wearing airbags. They had only arrived and they hadn't brought their canister with them because their airline said that they probably wouldn't be allowed to fly with them. So they brought their airbags with their backpack, but no canister, so they had no way of deploying.
Doesn't that render it kind of pointless?
Yeah, paperweight.
Still useless. It's still useful as a backpack, so you can still carry your avalanche tools and your things like that. So your shovel, your beacon, or you're wearing your beacon, your probe, your water.
Did anything happen to it? Were they okay?
No.
Is there a lawsuit against the airline?
No. My mate was over there. I'd just landed in Delhi. I was on the way over, and hey mate, just touched down. How good? How good is it? It's gonna be great. And he's like, no, it's been a really bad day.
Fucking
He
hell.
was one of the first responders to the avalanche. He was one ridge over. They heard the avalanche go. They went across the ridge to the top of the next ridge, and they just found one guy in the middle of a debris path digging. So they went over, helped dig out the body. My mate actually
so they did find...
Yeah, his mate had already done the beacon search and located where in the debris path he was, and was trying to dig. But mate, it's hard work. When you're on a time limit, you got...
Exactly.
It's like you should... If you're like
caught in that debris field, deflated, you'd have minutes before you're gone.
In the end, it was irrelevant because it was a death from trauma.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
really?
you could have had a snap neck.
It was very low tide on snow that year.
So it's a lot of risk, a lot of reward.
Yeah.
But a lot of risk, and something you need to be really, really fucking careful about.
Yeah. You just got to make good decisions. Sometimes you're going to make bad ones. Sometimes you're going to find yourself in bad situations. You've got to hope that your decision-making process keeps you in better places.
Fucking hell, eh?
But it's thoroughly rewarding. Like those days you're out there, bluebird sky, you've got no one around, and you're just carving turn after turn into fresh power. Nothing beats it.
Well, it sounds like you love it. It certainly sounds interesting. So, good on you, man.
Yeah, I might have to maybe invest in a Navi course and come and join you someday.
Well, I've almost got a second split board set up, so that can get you on that. I've got the contacts for. Well, I know the guy that trains, so that's
And
easy
that's
done.
Rick's kind of thing too, because he does snow.
Oh yeah, we rode together this year. We had Drams on the T-bar together.
Some of the best experience. Definitely the best experience I've ever had in Australia. That's for sure.
Yeah, that was good Aussie power. That lovely snow preceded by about 15 millimeters of rain.
I don't get brain freeze. Like for me, I get this numb patch on the roof of my mouth from eating ice cream, but I don't get brain freeze. I'd never had it until that day, where just that I'm not sure what the direction of wind was, but it was just hitting me in the back of the neck, and I didn't have a face mask. I regret not packing that in. Actually, I had it in my bag, back at the hostel, which was a lot of good that did me. That was the reason I bailed early that afternoon. Was just constant brain freeze on the T-bar.
Made a little better by a flask of whiskey in the pocket.
Yeah.
What were you running that day?
It was a pretty poisonous weekend. I'm a bit hard of memory. I really don't know.
No, I'm going to hold you to this. You should know what you are running.
I should know.
Yeah,
this is something I do quite often.
I'm pretty sure I usually... fair enough. You do it a lot more often than I. But I don't run a flask that often. But I'm usually pretty well aware of what I'm running because I'm usually trying to convert people.
So I know a good whiskey I've found for converting people is that Tabemery 12, the club purchase.
Okay, it'd be it could be a little polarizing, but I could see why that would work for you.
I've
But,
had 3 people that go, "Oh, I'll have a taste. I don't usually like whiskey," and we've done it Splitfest, and afterwards a few actually messaged and said, "What was the name of that one? I really want to get some." These are people who don't usually drink whiskey.
Okay.
That's what I was running that day.
Yeah.
What about you,
Yeah.
Rick? Would you? So you can't remember, but you. What would you have been running? Would you have been running something you were trying to convert, or something just for yourself?
It definitely would have been something that Camo doesn't have.
That was day 1, wasn't it? Our first day of riding.
So that was the Saturday. No, it was the Friday.
Yeah, that was the Friday.
Man, I'm struggling.
There have been times you've asked me what you should take for a couple of trips, but I don't think that was one of those times. I think I've had input
Yeah.
into what you've taken on some of these snow trips.
I remember, actually, that was a mountain biking down to Threadbow.
Oh,
What
there
should I
you go.
take?
That's
and you're
right.
like, no, you need the Jura because it's nice and sweet. And I can't believe you have no peated there. So okay, so I ended up taking 4 bottles for like a 3-day getaway or
Four is the
something.
correct
You'd
number.
done a similar thing for that trip too. You
I'm
had
not surprised.
multiple
I probably
bottles.
would have had 3 hit flasks.
You had,
So
I'm pretty sure it was Lager 16 you had on the Friday.
okay, that's a
good
staple.
boy.
That's a staple.
Good boy.
I was going to say that definitely one of them would have been peated. So if it wasn't the PX Lefroy, because I have a fair bit of that in stock.
I find the best thing that I've run in a flask to convert people is the Glen Scotia 15-year-old.
Yeah, that is amazing.
That is good.
I have fucking...
I only
like
recently tried it, courtesy of you.
that is a fucking amazing dram in its own right, but Jesus, that is a dram that I found more accessible than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Especially considering it's a Campbelltown, and I love the viscosity of a Campbelltown. Yeah, it is so oily and lovely on the palate. But
So I'd love to do a Campbelltown and
we
Kilcarran,
definitely will. I
Glen
think
Scotia, Springbank.
Kilcarran, Glen Scotia, Springbank.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
That very much makes
You
sense
get
to me.
similar age statements. That'd be awesome.
Now I've just added a couple of drops
Same here.
to
What do
the
you?
R squared,
It's the R squared. That's what I'm holding in my hand as well.
and I'm finding the wood comes through.
Damn straight it does. I'm getting a little bit
Comes
of
through a lot nicer.
a
It
little bit of sort of
smells
something almost like not smoky and burnt, but it is. It's on that charred. Like a bit
Yeah,
of the
you
char
can almost
coming
detect the char of the barrel
Yeah.
on the nose. But the wood's there, the char's there. It's far better balanced
Yeah.
on the nose
Sure
with a
is.
drop.
It's on the nose. This has benefited highly.
So let's see what it's like on the palate. So good.
Mm.
We just did this. Pardon me. We did the same thing we did with the first whiskey.
Hmm.
We all taste at the same time and produce this gorgeous dead air that I insist on celebrating.
It's so easy to edit.
But that's a better balanced
That
whiskey.
is so
Yeah,
much
that
better
is
with the dash of
delightful.
water.
That is legit a much better balanced whiskey. So they may have, and I hate being denigrative. I hate telling people that have fucking been distilling and bottling whiskey for longer than I've been alive that they've not done it right. But 46% might just be, this might be a 43.5 or a 42. It just, that little bit of extra water seems to balance it out. It brings the cereal from the malt, so you can taste the barley. I find that the sherry hits the top of the mouth and stays there, whereas the before it was just there was no differentiation between what part of my mouth and tongue it was activating. Everything was activated with the water. I'm noticing a little bit more easily which parts of the mouth are being activated and which parts aren't.
Yeah, I'm getting that nice sugary sherry that I keep. It's like fairy floss. It's the sugars.
Yeah.
Kind of
Sitting
getting it
nice.
down the side, like the edges of the tongue.
Yes.
It's really...
Top of the mouth, size of the tongue.
A lot of that spice, a lot of the pepper that I got first off is gone.
Yes.
It's not. Yeah.
Yeah, and which is, you know, it's why I make the outlandish statements that I make. But it's softer on that initial, nose and on that initial on the palate. The finish is affected slightly The finish is a little less
Yeah, it's not
intense.
as-
It's a
not
little
as
less long, but it's still there. I think this dram benefits from a drop.
I will certainly concur. Have you done the same to the
I've
OG?
added a
I
drop.
have added a drop.
I've added a drop to the OG, but I have not yet either nosed or
Ooh,
tasted.
That becomes really soft on the nose. Really soft.
Wow.
Yeah, it almost kills most of the
Mhm.
smell.
Yep.
But the sweetness is still
Yeah, still.
Still the
very dominant.
still the sun-dried, sugared grapes.
Now there's a touch of the vapor there with the water that wasn't there before, which I find interesting. It's only a hint. But that treacle, that molasses, the...
Oh, I didn't think this was going to benefit, but that is outstanding.
Really?
I
That
think
is
I'm going to have to
so-
buy more of these bottles.
That is so damn smooth. So sweet, so smooth.
Oh, wow. I didn't think, on the first tasting of both of those whiskies, I would not have been prepared to tell you that they had, and again, this is just my opinion, but that they had been bottled incorrectly. Because you're right, the drop, I mean,
And the bottom end,
Well, maybe
on
they're-
that, the
maybe they're
finish
not-
on that, on the OG, sorry, the bottom end is just staying
Well, that-
with me big time.
it doesn't,
Big,
it
deep,
doesn't fade.
deep, plummy.
It doesn't fade at all. It continues to come. Like the finish is still there. It's still tapping you lightly on the balls. It's it's still big.
Yeah.
The water doesn't take anything away from
Big,
that whiskey.
overripe, plummy,
But
sugary raisin.
but let's do the math, right? So I've added 2 drops to 30 mils.
I've added 2 drops to maybe 20, the best part of 20, 15.
Actually, you're right. That wasn't
I'd
a
be-
full
I'd be the
30
same
mil
with that.
dram. That would have been. I did top that up, so that probably would have been somewhere around the 15 to 20 mil. But 2 drops is opening up. Maybe it's a little bit fucking shooting off at the hip to say they've bottled it incorrectly, because what's 2 drops in 20 mil over 750 mil? Is it?
No, I'd say when you said you brought it down to about 43, no, I'd say we've barely done anything to it.
I agree.
It's
I
probably
think
45.2. But
yeah, like it's less than 1%. So
Yeah,
I suppose I'm trying to correct.
And it's pretty
Yeah.
bold to say it's bottled incorrectly. Like, some people are going to love it at that. We loved it at that.
yeah, that's just
Half an hour ago.
the dimensions that.
Oh, I'm not saying I'm right. I just like to make outlandishly fucking large statements and then dig up.
And that's why we
Afterwards.
love you.
It's my role. I'm the co-host. But it's the drops have certainly allowed the sweetness to flow through in combination with those bottom notes as well. But
Sorry, can I have?
Back to the
Yeah,
square.
give
I'm
us
getting
the-
almost banana off.
Yeah.
what are you
What are
back
they
on the
like-
R squared?
Yeah, almost caramelized.
So they're claiming, treacle toffee, and chocolate orange. Actually, well, you said that before.
Oh, nice.
Nutty notes. I haven't got so much of the nutty, but the vanilla I have. Yeah, very dynamic and full-bodied dram. Chewy with coffee, chocolate, and treacle scones. I would say no to the coffee.
I didn't pick up any coffee.
Yeah.
Hang on. Let's
Power suggestion now.
Oh, you're back on the.
That's the OG.
which is what I'm drinking.
So I'll sit that for a bit.
I think that if I was just to take on power of suggestion alone, no, I don't think I'm picking up any coffee there.
No, it's
It
almost
may, be
like
it may be a failing on mine. It may be there, and I'm just not picking up on
It's
it.
like
But I don't taste coffee.
the fruitiness that coffee sometimes has tastes like the same fruitiness that this has, but it's not the coffee flavour itself.
Look, I'm out of the 3 of us. I think that I'd probably get a nod from both of you if I said I'm a bit of a coffee dude compared to the 2 of you guys.
Just so you all know, we both nodded.
Thank you. Yeah, of course, not everyone's watching. and I consider myself quite someone that has a very well-developed palate for coffee. I drink a fucking lot of coffee. I don't pick up any coffee in that Dram whatsoever, and I don't pick up the aroma of it. I don't pick up the similar parts of my tongue or mouth that are activated by those coffee flavors. I think there's cacao in there, as in the base of chocolate.
Well, I get more now that I've added the drop. I get more of that chocolate orange that you mentioned earlier.
And I think, I found the same. I think that the chocolate came through a little bit more with the water, but I'm not picking up any coffee there. But maybe some cacao. But not all tongues are created equal.
Just look at Gene Simmons.
Exactly. And besides, some tongues are more skilled in other areas than they are in other areas. I probably should have said some areas rather than other areas, but it's okay. So, Cam's tongue, for instance, is probably talented in very different ways to your tongue, Rick, and mine.
Who have you been speaking to?
I never tell.
So he's using his tongue for other things.
But both of those whiskies are fucking exceptional, both with the drop and without. And I mean, it's a shame that we don't have the Reverend's rating on these ones.
Now, I'll tell you what is a shame. You guys saw the state of this bottle when I bought it here. There was a considerable chunk missing.
True.
The shame is that was wasted on the people. Well, I poured it for a few other people, my brothers, and both of them proceeded to fall asleep. So then I was forced to have 3 drams in a night.
But
it's not completely wasted, but not intended at the time.
But you know what you did. You know what you did wrong there, Cam.
Yeah, I fucked up.
But that's okay. You've learnt from it, right?
Yep.
That's the important.
They're not getting my nice whiskey anymore.
I love the fact that you've moved on to peatier shit because your brother that's living with you doesn't like the.
Oh, that was great.
So much.
We had a client the other day come in. They were so happy with this office fit out we'd done. My brother was running the job. I was just labour on it, which is great. And she came out and gave a case of beer for the labourers. We were pretty happy with that. And she gave a bottle of whiskey to the guy that owns the business and a bottle of whiskey to the guy that was running the job, being my brother. They both simultaneously slide the boxes out of the little gift bags, and I look over and see Lagavulin 16, and I just rub my hands together. I'm like, he doesn't like peated whiskies, and he's living with me. I'm getting that.
Are you going to replace his whiskey with a non-peated expression?
No.
So look, far be it for me to tell people what to do, but if you did, you would then have a second bottle of whiskey that you could help yourself to.
To be fair, I did a couple of hours work for my brother there, and I said, look, just give me that bottle, and we'll call that payment.
Nice. And you can't go wrong with Lagavulin 16-year-old.
His only sort of catch was, I want to taste it. Like, okay. And he doesn't typically like Islas.
I'll bet he liked the fucking Lagavulin 16-year-old, though.
You know what? He fucking does.
Of course. Because it's fucking Lagavulin.
Yeah. He's like, it's a bit
There's a reason that me and Ron Swanson agree on this particular fucking point. It's because we're both right.
There's been a couple of times where I've handed my glass over and here, have a taste of this, and he's just going, no, don't like it. No, don't like it. But there's a few times where he's just going, oh fuck you, don't you get me into this as well.
Oh no, fuck him. He needs to find a fucking new thing to throw his money into. Throw it in with us. Alright, gents. I have no idea how we're running on time, but I think we must be approaching the point where we're
getting up there.
These whiskies.
We're getting up there. We should give this a rating. I just want to go to the R squared and talk a little bit about the back of its label. I've been reading because it claims on the nose a burst of a maraschino cherry. Don't know what they are.
Oh, they're those, there's
maraschino
cherries that are
glacé cherries.
Yes.
In juice.
Right. Okay. I can.
They're always in
could
Christmas
attribute
cakes.
the sweetness of it to that. I guess. Yeah.
It's like
That's-
ultra faked sweetness.
That's
is
better than me
maraschino.
just saying fairy floss every fucking episode.
True.
Right, Bramble. You've got a chefing background. What the fuck is Bramble?
Bramble's a weed, isn't
That's
it?
what I thought.
I'd think blackberries.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I've got
Blackberry's also a
Oh,
weed. Maybe
okay.
Bramble also has a berry.
yeah, but
powers.
brambles in my mind have got fucking thorns and shit. No, scrambling through the brambles, like you're getting scratched up and stuff. And I
but
just
you
think
can't-
blackberries.
You can neither taste nor smell getting scratched up in the bush.
Maybe blackberries.
It smells like iodine. This is interesting, and this has put something in perspective for me. That bit of alcohol vapor kind of burn, almost a sting. It's almost like mentholy in a way. They've dark chocolate mint.
Ah,
I'm like, yeah, actually, I can get that.
This is the OG or the R squared?
This is the R squared. With hints of orange bitters, which is, you got the, you even said the orange earlier. I wasn't quite getting the orange. Walnut liqueur, not so much.
I have no idea what walnut liqueur is.
I'm
the
thinking
Italians
that-
love it.
Yeah, but I'm thinking amaretto, like hazel. I'm sorry, that's almond. It can't
okay.
be too far removed
Yep.
from something
It's like a
that.
frangelico or something.
Exactly, it won't be too far a sidestep from something like that. That's all on the nose, yeah. Taste: honey glazed apricot, ripe fig, crescendo black cherry, angelica, and a muscovado. No,
What the fuck's a muscovado?
I don't know.
Well, I think I picked the dark fruit and cherry off that one, but that's about all I think I picked out of that list.
That was all nose. I can't. None of those flavors on the palate. It is nice and dark though.
I still think there's something about the R squared that I just can't put my finger on. I like it, but I just don't have the words to express it properly, and I'm not sure what it is.
I thought,
Finally on the finish, long enveloping dark manuka honey, herbal bitters, there's a little bit of bitters in dark chocolate, obviously.
Yeah, I picked up on the bitters, and the finish on that thing was fucking forever.
I do like now that it said though that minty and kind of the herbal can attribute. It's like that same minty mentholy thing that you get from like Jaeger.
I was just
Yeah,
thinking
okay.
Jaeger. I was just thinking,
Well,
is
see-
Jaeger the right
so
the word
Jaeger-
to use here?
But
But it's
Jaeger will
just a
also
tiny-
give you a really good idea of the bitters. When so
Yeah, well, maybe
Jaeger-
it's those two.
Jaeger's
contributing
made
then.
of Jaegermeister's made of like 100 different herbs that all go into that particular blend, just like
Yeah,
Angostura bitters.
Mm.
But they are all one of the same bitter herbs that you wouldn't chew on for fun by itself. And the only reason you drink Jaeger is because it gets you fucking nice and hammered.
Mm.
And
it
that good
goes
hammered.
well with Red Bull.
And it's that good hammered too. It's that energetic hammered. Like I can fucking do shit hammered. Not that I'm a bit hammered and now I
like
just want to
it?
go to sleep and be a
I
bit
kinda
ice
like
cold.
relaxed.
Yeah, ice
Has
cold.
to be ice cold.
Oh,
in the
if it's
freezer.
warm, you can probably taste all the horrid shit.
Yeah.
that's-
Keep your Jaeger in the freezer.
Straight out of the freezer, bang,
Yeah.
nice shot,
yeah,
done.
so
Good to
I
go.
always keep a bottle in the freezer.
Medicinal.
Yes, I will give you
Mountain
it's
medicinal.
because it's got a lot of herbs in it. Medicinal in the same way whiskey is medicinal.
Okay.
As in very good for you.
Alright.
Drink it lots. So,
So your points.
what do you
What
reckon,
do you got
gents?
here? I would say the OG is huge. The OG is
Yeah.
massive, actually.
The OG is an exceptional representation
Mm-hmm.
of this kind of expression of whiskey that is very hard to outdo.
Yep.
It's getting a big number, boys.
Yeah.
I don't even feel qualified to give it numbers. I'm happy to leave
There's
that
no
to you.
peat in it.
Well, think
so
of
that's
one of the-
gonna
think
count
There's no
against-
peat.
Think
There's
of
no
the
peat
best
in it,
thing you've
but
ever had.
but when you compare the two, I kind of feel like there's a tease of not peat, but there's almost a tease of something smoky.
I think
It's
there
probably
is.
the char from
I
the
think
barrel.
you can
I'd
take
say.
the char from the barrel,
Yeah.
and I think that's only in the OG. I don't think that's in the R square.
Yeah.
For mine. But I agree. I think you can taste the char.
Well, it did get longer acquainted with the char.
So it's taking a bit more of it from it.
Mm.
But Look,
Yeah, it's got that lovely bottom end of.
I'm gonna rate the R squared first,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to give full credit to Dr. Barry because she's done a fucking exceptional job. I'm choosing to interpret that she has chosen to recreate as best she can Billy Walker's malt. That's the framework that I'm choosing to operate in.
Maybe.
I'm not saying that's the
With
case.
what she's got on hand as well.
I'm not saying that's the case. I'm merely saying that's the framework I'm choosing to operate in while I'm rating these whiskies. So, Dr. Barry's whiskey is delightful and deep on the nose. It's not cheap. It's not nasty. It's not pretentious. It gives an indication of exactly what you're going to have. On the palate, her malt is a little bit deeper, a little bit more full-bodied, a little less balanced. It's indicative of what the 15-year-old could be with a few extra years. The finish is absolutely luxurious. The viscosity is fantastic. I'm giving this a 9.4.
Holy
shit. Holy shit.
Wow.
Yeah.
So where are you going with the OG then?
I can't influence your guys' decisions, so I would love to hear your ratings. Unless you want to hear mine. Unless you don't think mine will inflate yours.
I've thought about this listening to the last few episodes, and I don't feel I have the knowledge yet to be rating.
Okay.
Fucking good.
I find, okay.
Is about what I can say.
If you want to strip it back, think of the best whiskey you've ever had and give that maybe a 9.8 or a 9.9 because there's guaranteed there's something better out there. Then how does this compare to that?
All right, that's I should probably be more harsh then because I've tried 3-4 older counterparts from the same distillery this week.
Mm-hmm. See, I'm still going back to that Lefroy 28.
Oh, that was
and thinking that's a 9.8.
So far, that's my 9.9.
Okay, yeah, 9.8, 9.9.
Yeah, I'd probably have to say about that. I'm going to say 985.
So if that
says
sets your benchmark.
985, then I'd have to put that 26 next, but that's the same brand working back. Let me think on it. You go.
The first thing that came to mind is like an 8.6.
Yeah, right. So a full 10 points lower than mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mind you, though, I might surprise you because on the Billy Walker,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not giving it anywhere near the difference that I think you guys are going to give it.
Mm-hmm.
So the Billy Walker for mine gets a 9.7.
Okay.
It's only very, very slightly better. And that is purely, for me, down to the balance.
Yeah.
That whiskey
Yes.
in the mouth, on the nose, and on the finish is perfectly balanced.
That deserves far more points in my opinion. Anyway, but that's me. That's me.
I can't. A 26-year-old's already my 9.998. So for this, like this
gets to be sitting.
It's 9.7. Now you're right.
OG is so good.
I can understand where you're coming from. Maybe I should have given the R squared less, but I don't think there's that much between them. I really don't. I think when you compare the two in the situation that we're comparing them to, yes, there is quite the difference. But when you compare to everything else, the R squared is still a fucking exceptional whiskey.
Yeah,
and without the OG, you'd be giving it big numbers.
And realistically, these days, if you want to drink it, that's what you're going to get because that's the OG is not easy to find.
Well, that's how
you're paying.
That's how the
$250
R
to
squared was
$300
sold to me. I went into old mate down in Double Bay, who's not advertising, so I'm not saying his name, and I asked the Muppet behind the counter, is this the same one they've always had? And he went, yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think so.
Fuck.
For For however much it was, 150. Like,
Fucking steal
okay,
it.
yeah, hell yeah, I'll take this home. And then did a bit of research and looked up and like, oh, okay, there's motherfucker.
And
Look,
that's the beauty of this particular episode as well. We get to compare two things that are so close to each other and
But
so
at the
much
same time,
better
they're
than
not.
so many other things. But at the same time, they're so far apart.
Yeah.
I'm still struggling to. For my money, they should not be labelled and called the same thing.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think they should be two
And
different
I
expressions.
think that's what I'm hung up on
And-
so much.
So I had to let that go. Because if I hadn't let that go, there would have been a big difference between the two. Whereas I don't think that's fair to the whiskey. I think the whiskey has to stand up to in its own right, regardless of the politics, regardless of my personal preferences.
Yeah.
So while I believe that the OG is the superior product, which is probably down to the whiskey spending a little bit more time in wood, I still think the R squared is a sublime whiskey that deserves to be celebrated. And I think that a lot of the harshness between the two is coming from the fact that we think that they're so different, because they are, that they shouldn't be branded in the same box.
This would be interesting to actually put up against the Pedro Benriach from last
you're
episode.
right. It would.
It's the same master distiller, same
Exactly.
same owner, same
Yeah.
age.
From memory, though, that wood finish on that Benriach it's maybe not as well balanced as this. It was much larger. Much more-
Agreed. Yeah, but the
So then, do you have any idea what I gave that? Maybe if I gave that an 8.6 as well, I'm being harsh. I have a feeling I may have. All right. In light of the past few minutes of conversation, I'm going to renege on my 8.6 and say, let's go. Yeah, it deserves a bit more. 8.8, 8.9.
I'll accept that.
Yeah.
And while certainly the last thing I want is for my opinions to influence yours.
You've
I've
just made a
changed
great
it.
case.
But I feel the case I've made stands alone in its right.
Mhm.
And I think that whiskey's so subjective. But I do feel that these are both exceptional whiskies. And I've really fucking enjoyed drinking them.
Damn straight.
And I've enjoyed this chat. This, as far as experimental podcast episodes go, bringing on a guest to have a chat about things, both whiskey and non-whiskey, I think it's something we'll do again. I think it's something I really enjoyed. I really appreciate you coming on board, Cam. I really appreciate you bringing in a bottle of whiskey.
I'm glad, you supplied the OG for the head-to-head. It's been fantastic.
This episode wouldn't have
I'm
been what
happy
it was
to,
without you.
It's been a lot of fun.
And it's been really interesting.
I
hearing
actually
about
forgot
what
for a
you
minute
do.
there that we were podcasting. We were just a couple of mates sitting around having a
Just mates,
dram
yeah.
and
Just happens to
talking
be free
shit.
microphones.
Surely the highest praise a podcast can earn. But it's,
So do you happen to have any thoughts on your rating? What would you give it out of 10? That's
Look,
the
I've not rated anything.
and,
so
and don't get self-conscious about it. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, you just tell us what you
Give it
think.
what you think it deserves.
I prefer the OG over the
Damn,
R
yep.
squared.
I concur.
I'd say similar to Mick. I wouldn't put it too much above. I'd like to give it rated it based on their tastes, individual merits.
That's all well and
if you want to
good.
leave it, that's
OG probably
Numbers.
OG
well, we haven't done the OG.
9-1,
Really?
9-2, and 9-2, and the R squared 9 even.
Nice. I like that spread.
So where's your OG, Mick?
9-7.
You said
9-6 and
9-7.
9-7.
Yeah.
It's a 1 point spread, which probably is indicative of my failings as a taster. That probably should be a slightly larger based on your guys' response, but I think they're both exceptional, and I'm judging them in relation to the other things that we've drunk, as opposed to each other, to the point of difference.
Like I said, I also brought up before. I think where you're saying a bit higher in the 9s. I've this week had the 18, the 21, a 26, and an 18 single cask from the same distillery. So I can't help but factor that into.
Well, you've got to leave yourself room. That's what I always do. I think that the biggest
every single one of those
so
were better than these in different
or
ways.
a 9.2. So
that's why I'm blown away that you've gone as high as 9.7.
Look,
especially 9.6 for one that I couldn't give more than a 9 to.
Look, you're probably right. You got to remember.
No, if that's what you're feeling, that's what you're feeling.
You got to remember, I haven't eaten today, and I've really enjoyed these drams. So the numbers.
Has this whiskey gone to your head, Mick?
The numbers they've got is probably higher than they deserve, but the correlation between the two is correct.
The amount of joy that they've brought you.
Yeah. So realistically,
okay.
they're probably 9.4s, 9.3 and 9.4.
All right. Well, I was going to sit with about 9.2, 9.3 for the OG. Nice.
We tend to be in line to about that range, so I'm happy to amend mine, considering that I'm a bit jolly.
I'm happy with the first whiskey I've rated, and it's pretty close.
I think this has been a lot of fun, guys. I really enjoyed this.
It's been outstanding. Well, yeah. Thanks for joining us, Camo.
Thanks, Cam.
Wahzel.
Thanks for having me.
Fucking not a problem at all. Sluncher.